spring soon, and we're going to start doing a lot of things outside. So tonight I'm going to make some of my garden ready active biochar. I've made this before. I have some new ingredients that I'm going to add into it, but it's going to be so that you actually have all your nutrients in it, so that when you go to plant it in the garden, everything is already there. So, instead of using azomite, I'm actually going to use volcano Abba salt. So it's basically the same thing as rock salt. I mean, that same thing as azomite, but the difference going to be is that this has a whole lot more compounds in it because of where it's harvested from, how long it's sat, where azomite comes from the seabed, where the volcano dust basically comes from the nutrients of the ground and things like that. So it actually has a little more compounds in it. It's higher in iron, which is good. Our gardens definitely need iron and magnesium, so that's a good thing. So we're going to start with the same thing we always start off with, is my homemade biochar. And I have about 2 gallons here. This bucket is a 2.5 gallon. It's probably got roughly about 2 gallons in here. And it has small particles in it and aggregates. And what you want to really have enough of the aggregates in it so that all the nutrients and all the biology, once you put it into your soil, has something to latch onto. If you're just using just the powder, that's not a lot of surface, even though the biochar as a carbon base actually has a lot of carbon footprint, so more than you ever would think. So I like to use a little bit of powder and aggregate. So that's what we're looking like. All right, so that's what we're starting with. I'm going to throw on some gloves because we know from the biochar you're going to get your fingers all dirty. I don't want to get it under my fingernails. But the good thing is about active biochar is that it's already had and fully loaded and charged, so that when you put it into your soil, your plants will start to take it up. So this is what I start with. All right. And the second thing I'm going to add is, like I said, the base salt. And I'm going to put 2 of these cups in, or maybe 2 cups, a cup and a half. This is actually 24 ounces, more or less probably about 25 ounces. It's full. And we really want to get it mixed in there good. So I usually use azomite, but I came across this and wanted to make a batch using the base salt. And all you want to do is make sure that everything gets incorporated really good. And mix it in real good. And what this is, you are going to have some bigger pieces. And the difference between this, and if you notice a little on the greener side, this is also going to take a little longer to break down in your soil. So by the time you go to do your transplants, you do your garden, you till it or turn it over, whatever you do, you wind up putting this in and it's pretty much ready to go with all the nutrients. So the other thing is, I'm also going to use my own homemade worm castings that I harvest myself. So a couple of the nutrients that I'm actually going to add is alfalfa meal. And that's always a well-rounded part of minerals and hormones that it has. And yes, it does have a little bit of growth hormones normally and naturally in alfalfa meal. So you're actually getting a good, well-rounded, you know. And then I'm going to add some kelp, which is, to me, almost, I look at it as it's also almost as a sugar also. Worms love it. It breaks down fast. So it's probably going to be the first thing that's going to break down when you add it to your soil. Kelp also has over 60 different trace elements that we're adding into it. So that's a good thing for adding that. I'm also going to add in some fish bone meal, all right, which helps with flowering, you know. I added a little bit of the blood meal, which the blood meal is another item that, you know, if you ever notice, you know, breaks down very, very quick in your soil when you add it to your plants. That's why you can add a little bit every other week, because it breaks down pretty quick. Humic acid, I'm going to also add some humic acid. It's high also in a lot of nutrients, and it's also going to feed the bacteria, the biology, the worms, because it's high in carbon. So, and it's a carbon that the worms could really, and the biology really like to kind of grab a hold of. So, all right, so I mixed this up pretty good. Everything looks good. So the next thing I'm going to add is my worm castings. I don't know how much that is, but then you want to mix that in. And mine are actually full of a lot of fungi, a lot of bacteria, good bacteria, and you just want to mix it in real good. And you don't need a lot of the worm castings. You just need enough just to kind of activate your biochar. It's another step in activating, because there is a lot of nutrients and a lot of bacteria and a lot of nutrients that are passed through the worms. So that looks good for me. Just want to make sure it's mixed in there pretty good. And one of the things I'm going to add, and it's also for me a feeding, to feed the biology and the bacteria and the microbes that are actually in your biochar, is a little bit, and this is only 2.5 ounces. I'm sorry, not 2.5 ounces. This is only 1/4 of a pound. And it's super dry. And it is something that's also going to feed your bacteria and your microbes. So you really want to add a little something in there. You don't have to. It's what I do. This is for myself. So if I was a vegan, I wouldn't add it in, but I'm not a vegan. So So there we go. So you just want to make sure it's mixed in there good. And the moisture is good, as you can see. So I'm not going to add any water to it or anything like that. The moisture is very, very good. So I like when I'm doing my plants, how I like to use it is I like to take a handful in every hole that I plant a vegetable into or a flower. I just put a handful in the hole, and that's good enough for me. I don't top dress it. I make sure it's in the soil and it's down at the root zone so that it gets right to the plant. And especially, so normally this would be it, but because I'm making garden ready, I'm going to add other nutrients in it. I do add some other nutrients in it when I make my regular Bio Char, but because this one is going to be my garden ready, I'm actually adding some other additional items. If I can find it. Alright, so like I said, this is kelp, crab meal, and crab meal is good because it has chitin, and it's got alfalfa meal, it's got blood meal, and it has kelp in it, and it has a little bit of humic acid in it. Couldn't remember everything I put in it. So I'm just going to mix this up real good. You want to get a real thorough mixture. You don't want any hot spots in one location. So you really want to take the time to mix it up. And as you see, that's what we're looking like. It's got everything in there. Everything that your plant's gonna need to survive in the beginning once you do transplants, or you go to the garden center and you buy your plants and you come home and you put them in. However you decide to do it, this has everything your plants are gonna need. So, and I didn't go heavy on anything. For me, I could have went heavier on other things, but I kept it very mild, just to give it all. And now this will sit, we're in, well, let's call it February. We're going to be February soon. So, this is going to sit for the next month before I start doing any type of planting, and it's going to be good. Then you always want to give it a sugar source. So I have a little bit of flour, not as much flour as I probably would like to add. So, but the flour is really what's gonna also feed the microbes quickly and allow them to really come alive. And you really want to mix it really good. You want to get it all in there. Yeah, so you want to really mix it in. You don't see anything. But that bad boy looks good. It's ready. That's definitely ready for your garden. Definitely ready for the garden. What do you think? It's not hard to do. And if I didn't say it, I put all the amounts of those fertilizers was a quarter cup. So, what's a quarter cup? 6 ounces, 5 ounces, you know. So, that's all that was added. Like I said, I could have went heavier, but I'm not. This is a small batch, so I didn't want to overdo it. So, that's all it does. That's all it takes. All right, this is New Era Gardener, and this is Garden Ready Bio Char, ready for the garden. What do you think? Ready for the garden? All right, guys, give it a try yourself, or go to my website, purchase some of my active already Bio Char, and you're good to go, and then you can add minerals in it yourself. All right, I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Enjoy.